Freezer meals do not have to be boring. In fact, ours are not boring.
Ours are not boring at all. And I mean, we have some family-friendly ones that are a little bit more pedestrian, you might say. But no, we eat out of our freezers every day, and we wouldn't do it if the food was bad.
So today we're going to be sharing with you some dinner ideas that are going to perk you right up, because these are ones where they are flavor forward.
They are flavor forward, and do you know what? You would never believe that they are freezer meals. You could serve these to company.
Absolutely you could. I think that some of these are going to blow your mind as to what is possible with freezer cooking. Let's get to the first recipe.
Awesome.
These pork carnitas are like a flavor explosion, and like Christy was saying earlier, these recipes really are good enough to serve to company. In fact, I did serve this one to company and they were amazed. So into your large freezer bag, you're gonna add a pork roast, some diced onion, a jalapeno that's finely chopped. You can remove the seeds if you don't like things spicy, or keep them in if you like them spicier. If you want to kick it up even more, you can use serrano in place of the jalapeno. Some tomato paste, soy sauce, ground cumin, salt, chili powder, smoked paprika, pepper, brown sugar, olive oil, lime juice, orange juice, and 2 bay leaves. You're gonna squish all of this together, sort of rub it around on that roast. You're gonna get as much air as you can out of the bag so that you don't end up with freezer burn. You're gonna seal it and get that into your freezer. On the day you go to make this one, you can make it in your Instant Pot or in your slow cooker. Then you're gonna shred that meat, and here is the key. You're gonna take that meat and you're gonna spread it out on a foil-lined cookie sheet. You're gonna spoon some of the juices over top, and you're gonna put it in your oven on broil. When you broil that meat just for like 7 minutes, that is gonna give you like that crisp, that caramelization, so that you have not only flavor, but the perfect texture. And then you can serve this on tostadas, in flour tortillas. You want to serve it with all of your taco type fixings, your guacamole, your salsa, tomatoes, cilantro, avocados, and definitely some cabbage slaw. When I served this last time, I made a Cajun mayo and served that as well. And it just added an extra punch.
Awesome.
So good. To make a Cajun mayo, all you need to do is take some mayo, mix it up with a bit of lime juice to brighten it up, and lots of Cajun seasoning.
While we are on the Cajun train, I am going to tell you about these Cajun shrimp skewers. Now, here's the lovely part about making these into a freezer meal. You don't have to skewer them until the day that you go to cook them. So we're just gonna put our shrimp in the bag. Now, we use frozen shrimp. We use it with the tail off. You can totally use shrimp with the tail on. Better if you use peeled shrimp for this. And we're going to add in a bit of canola oil, some Cajun seasoning, and by some I mean like 2 to 3 tablespoons of Cajun seasoning, a lot of Cajun seasoning, and some lemon juice. Squish that around in your bag so that all of the shrimp gets coated, and then get that back into your freezer before your shrimp thaws. Then on the day that you go to cook this, you're going to allow it to thaw. The shrimp is going to give off some moisture, so I always drain mine, and then I have soaked my skewers in water for about half an hour, like if you use the bamboo skewers, and then you can thread them on. Super fast to cook up. You can do it on the barbecue, you can do it in the oven. We're talking 4, 5, 6 minutes for shrimp on the barbecue. You can also do these in a pan if you don't want to bother to skewer them. They are great served with pasta. They are great served with steak. They're probably really great served with those pork carnitas that you were just talking about as another option, because of the Cajun flavors that's happening in the mayo over there. And they are just really versatile and super packed with flavor. And honestly, they couldn't be any easier because they are 4 ingredients.
When Christy and I were deciding on what recipes to use for this video, this was like a resounding yes.
It was a very obvious choice, because I want to say it is easily one of the most flavorful recipes we even have. And it's so simple, and you're gonna just be excited about it.
It's surprising because it's a soup. And you don't really think of soup as packing a lot of flavor, although we have amazing soups like
Yeah, we
our
do.
mulligatawny, our roasted carrot and brie, our curried butternut squash. We have some really
great
good
soups.
But this one, as far as flavor and like hearty, just all of the things, kind of takes the cake, and it is our lasagna soup. So into your large freezer bag, you're gonna add some ground Italian sausage that's been browned and cooled. If you like things spicier, you're gonna wanna use a spicy Italian sausage. And if you like things milder, you can use Italian sausage with basil or just a mild Italian sausage. Then you're gonna add some oregano, basil, minced garlic, you can just use it from a jar, some red pepper flakes. This is another situation where you can bump up the spice or bump it down depending on how much you add. Some salt and pepper, bay leaves, fennel, nutmeg, diced onion, chicken broth, fire roasted tomatoes, and tomato paste. You're gonna squish that together in your bag to combine it. You're gonna get your air out and seal it. And then you're going to put some ricotta cheese into a quart-size freezer bag, and you're gonna staple those two bags together above the seal so that on the day you go to make this, you have that ricotta all ready to go. You're gonna thaw this. It doesn't even need to be fully thawed, just thawed enough to dump the bag contents into your stovetop pot. Then you're gonna bring this to a boil, reduce the heat on that and simmer it about 20 minutes. And then you're gonna add some lasagna noodles to this. So you're gonna take 5 lasagna noodles, you're gonna break them up. We have tested and tested
Very
and tested,
scientifically.
and 4 is not enough and 6 is too many.
5 is the perfect
5
amount.
noodles. And then you're gonna get that into your pot, stir it, and once those noodles are cooked, this is ready to serve. When you serve it, you're gonna add that ricotta cheese to each bowl. You're also gonna add some Parmesan cheese, and if you're me, you're gonna add some more red pepper flakes. So this one just has flavor upon flavor upon flavor. If you love lasagna, and if you like things spicy, this is the one for you.
And even if you love lasagna and don't love it super spicy, our family is a little less spicy than Charlotte's family. We totally tone it down and use the mild sausage. But as my kids have gotten older, I have started to appreciate the spicy sausage in it and think, oh, this could use a little more heat. Yeah. And so I have taken this, I have served this to company. I have taken it as a freezer meal to my brother's house when we had like a family thing happening, and it's just a hit every time. You know, if you wanted to make all of these meals, you would pull all the recipes and you would go through line by line of what you needed for the ingredients to make your shopping list. And you would kind of do an inventory. Well, I already have this spice. I already have, you know, a couple of onions. And then you would make your grocery list and you would go to the grocery store, buy your things, and then you would go back through the recipes and pick out your prep list and do up all your prep. And then you would assemble these. That is how we do freezer meals. That's how the best way to do your batch cooking. But there is a better way, because honestly, that is a lot of work, and that really is hard for some people to wrap their heads around about all these steps that you have to do.
Or even to know like what recipes freeze well and how to adapt things for freezer cooking. Yeah.
Yes, so we have an answer for you, and it is called the Freezer Meals 101 Club, where we have almost 400 recipes, and you can make a meal plan just like this that we're going to show you today out of our recipes that are in there. And do you know what it's going to do? It's going to make that shopping list for you and the prep list for you. If you want to double them, there's a slider. You can change the serving size. You can double these, and then all of your prep is laid out. All of your shopping is laid out. So you just do your shopping, do your prep, and then here's the best part. When you go to assemble them, we even have labels that you can print, just like we have here in our videos. They have the recipe title, they have the cooking instructions, and they have the date on them, because you are going to want to eat these up by 3, maybe 6 months. They can't stay in there forever. You made them to eat. So this next recipe, it was like a total fluke and a surprise because it wasn't the original recipe that we started out with. For a very happy accident, we totally Bob Rossed this recipe. I will tell you that much. It is the one pot Cajun chicken pasta. And here's the best part. I already said it, it's one pot. You are only gonna have to wash one dish when you make this sucker. And it is like, you talk about a flavor explosion with the pork carnitas. We were like dancing in the kitchen that we made this.
It's so
because
good.
it's so good. So here it is. In our bag, we're going to start with our chicken breasts that have been cooked and cubed. So that is part of your prep. We're going to add in Cajun seasoning, some sliced red pepper, sliced yellow pepper, some thinly sliced purple onion, some minced garlic. Like Charlotte said, we just use it from a jar. It's super easy and super fresh. We're adding in 4 cups of chicken broth, or if you want to have a thinner bag, you can leave your chicken broth out for to add it in on the day of cooking. We're going to add in, now this is important, diced tomatoes with spicy red pepper. We're adding in heavy cream, some cream cheese, a bit of parsley, and salt and pepper to taste. Your bag is pretty full here. You're going to get your excess air out of your bag, zip it up and freeze it. When you go to cook this, you're going to allow it to thaw. If you need to add in your chicken broth, you can add it in at this point. And you're going to put that on your stovetop and bring it to a boil. And then you're going to add in your penne pasta. You're going to cook it right in the sauce and reduce it, give it a couple of stirs, and give it, I don't know, 20 minutes or so until that pasta is nice and soft. And then when you serve this up, Charlotte's staple is always Parmesan cheese, red pepper flakes and Parmesan cheese. If it's pasta, it pretty much has that on it automatically. I totally suggest that too. It is really great to add that right in your bowl. And when you eat this, your mouth is going to be so excited. You are not going to believe that this is a freezer meal. Now, here is something else that I am going to point out. If you are normally not a purchaser of Cajun seasoning and you're like, what am I buying this for one recipe for? What am I going to do with all this Cajun seasoning? We have already given you 3 different recipes, including the mayo, right? Where you can use the Cajun seasoning. So you can actually get through your little can of it fairly soon.
Yes.
You know.
Or you can, if you're in the Freezer Meals 101 Club, you can type the ingredient Cajun into the ingredient box and it'll populate all the recipes that have Cajun seasoning in them. And that way you can start to, like, if you're like, I gotta figure out what to do with this.
With the rest of my Cajun seasoning. I have to laugh. I was in the cooking sub on Reddit. This was like 2 years ago. And Charlotte and I have been cooking together, doing freezer meals for over 13 years. So I've adapted I've changed how I cook because I've met you and because of these recipes, right? In this sub, somebody posted a picture of their Worcestershire sauce that they said, finally, I finished it. It has taken me 3 years. And people are like, what? You don't use it all the time? And other people are like, what on earth do you even have it for? And I laugh because we go through it like it's lemon juice. It's in everything. It's not in everything, but
large bottles.
We go through.
Yes.
Yes. And so when you are freezer cooking, you can do things like that. You're like, what am I going to use the Worcestershire sauce for? I can't even pronounce it. And there is a lot of ways to use that because it just adds this, depth of flavor that you don't normally get. And that is another reason why freezer meals aren't bland.
Totally. The Worcestershire sauce makes me think of that meme that it's like things that are hard to say, like, I'm sorry, I was wrong, and Worcestershire sauce.
That is funny. And it's true. We have learned.
Yes. Okay, so the reason that we learned how to properly say Worcestershire sauce, and I know people have other opinions on how to say it, whatever.
Yeah, it probably varies from street to street in London, but...
Completely. But the reason that we have some semblance of how to say it, at least, is because in my first videos here on this channel, I couldn't say it at all. We would call it like W sauce or...
Rooster sauce.
Completely.
Where's your sister sauce?
Yes. Any version except the right version. And it got to the point where we were being called out in videos, or a lot of videos, especially the ones that I was doing by myself. people would write really kind things in the comments about like hints on how to pronounce it. And like, well, I find it's easier if you remember this. And finally, Christy was reading one of the comments, and it was like, if you're gonna have a cooking channel, you really should learn.
It was meaner than that.
Yeah.
We could read mean tweets, you know. It was from the YouTube channel, and I think it was something along the lines of, no self-respecting cook will have a YouTube channel and not be able to pronounce Worcestershire sauce. And I immediately, I'm like, I am never saying it right again just to spite this guy. But we did eventually come around to learning it. And also, like, we're home cooks. We're moms.
We didn't go to culinary school, so those kind of things just sort of...
And we're in Canada. We call things differently here than other places, and that's okay. And so we've had a good chuckle about it over the years because we have finally learned how to pronounce it. You can go ahead and pick it apart in the comments. How you say it is how you say it, and how we say it is how we say it.
But at least it's closer than it used to be.
It's way closer than it used to be, and we haven't even come to a recipe that we've called for it yet, but stay tuned. It might show up here in the next...
Get there.
We might get you through that bottle of Worcestershire sauce sooner than in 3 years.
Chicken Tinga, similar to pork carnitas, you can kind of serve this in like those Mexican-inspired type of things, but totally different flavors than with those pork carnitas because, stick with me, you're gonna see. Into your large freezer bag, you're gonna add some boneless, skinless chicken breasts. Then into your blender, you're gonna add some olive oil, minced onion, minced garlic, some chipotle peppers in adobo sauce from the can. Now, it says that you're only supposed to add 2 chipotle peppers in adobo sauce, but you could choose to go wild and add the entire can if you like things spicy.
Or at Christy's house, you could just add the sauce.
Or 1 pepper.
Or 1
without
pepper.
The sauce. Very versatile here. Then you're gonna add some oregano, cumin, fire roasted tomatoes, salt and pepper, and you're going to blend this up in your blender. Now, if you don't have a blender, you can use an immersion blender instead and just add these ingredients to a bowl and blend them up. Then you're gonna pour this on top of your chicken breast, squish it to combine it, get your air out, seal it, and freeze it. When you go to make this, you can make it in your slow cooker or in your Instant Pot. Then you're gonna shred it, and this can be served on nachos. It can be served on tacos. It can be served in enchiladas or burritos. It can be served as like a burrito type bowl thing. It can be served on flour tortillas, on tostadas. However you serve it, you wanna make it with those, again, those taco type fixings. So your lettuce or your cabbage, your tomatoes, your green onion or purple onion, your jalapenos, your serrano peppers, your cilantro, like all of those things that are just gonna take the flavors to a whole other level. And when you combine it with this sauce, you're pretty much gonna wanna drink the sauce.
Yeah, you really could.
It's so good.
It is so good. So now that you've already bought your Cajun seasoning, I just have more recipes here that we're gonna put it in. Actually, it's one more right now. And this is your Cajun sausage sheet pan dinner. Again, we love this one because it's just a sheet pan, so it's only 1 dish to wash. Did I mention that we're moms and that, you know, we don't always love having 6 things on the go on the stove? That's just the sheet pan is here. You can make it even easier and put it on a foil lined sheet or with some parchment paper, and then it's just such a simple wipe down.
I also love that this one is like a one and done. You're not having to do sides with it. It's just like,
it is a one and done.
Really don't have to think about dinner.
Absolutely. Into your large freezer bag, you are going to add a garlic sausage ring that has been sliced into rounds. You're going to add in peeled and coarsely cubed sweet potato, peeled, seeded, and coarsely cubed butternut squash, a small coarsely chopped zucchini, some olive oil, some Cajun seasoning, hooray, and some salt. You're going to sprinkle that all in on top of the bag contents and then mix it around so everything gets nice and evenly coated. get that excess air out, seal it up, put your label on, and stick it in the freezer. When you go to cook this, you're going to allow it to thaw. You're going to prepare your baking sheet with some tin foil or parchment paper, and you're going to bake this at 400 for about 35 minutes. And you can do this one in the air fryer at about 380. It's, okay, if you have an air fryer, you know that you have to kind of get to know your air fryer. And if yours runs hotter, maybe you want to do this at 360. But the instructions that I have here for my air fryer is at 380 for 15 to 20 minutes, and that should be enough to get everything cooked through. And you're going to want to shake it occasionally throughout, and you're going to get that caramelization and that extra flavor that just comes from having that awesome texture, right?
This one also smells the house so beautiful. Like it's just darn good. Tasty. That's what it is. It's tasty.
Totally tasty. And yeah, like you said, it's a one and done.
So we realized that we didn't actually share the story with you of how that
the Cajun
one pot came about. So yeah, in case you're interested.
So I was here by myself. I was doing B-roll. Like I was making an overhead so that we could do some B-roll and get some good footage for you.
I was supposed to be here doing it with her.
You were at an appointment?
No, my sister-in-law was in town from British Columbia.
Right.
We live in Alberta, Canada. Christy and I are neighbors. And my sister-in-law just happened to be in town, and I got invited for lunch with her and my husband's cousin, who's from Vancouver Island, who's also from BC. And so it was just this like last minute spur of the moment, but I didn't want to say no when I can't just see them anytime I want to. So Christy was like, "You go." She's such a good friend. She was like, "You go."
I'll make it the one pot. That's totally fine. So I get here and I am making the one pot, and I get to the part where it's the Cajun seasoning, and it's the second thing on the recipe. And I opened up her spice cupboard and I could not find Cajun seasoning, and she always has it. It was just so baffling to me, and I probably spent like a good 20 minutes looking for Cajun seasoning. So finally, I honestly Googled a recipe to make my own Cajun seasoning, and I pulled out all her other spices because I'm gonna pull back the curtain here to show you the wizard. This is her spice cupboard, and it's pretty intense in there.
And you can see right now I have three
Cajun seasonings.
Cajun
She always has Cajun seasoning. So here's the funny part. It was actually here. She showed me when she got back. It was tucked in behind this because one of her sons really liked to use it on his hash brown potatoes and wanted to hide it from the other kids so they didn't use it up on him. And so, okay, so we got the Cajun seasoning portion figured out, but then I got further down the recipe and it was supposed to be fire roasted tomatoes, diced tomatoes. We have them in another recipe that Charlotte just did with the chicken Tinga. That's a normal thing that we often have here. Charla, often has here in her pantry, and it's a no-brainer. I would just get some. Well, I had to tear that pantry apart, and I'm texting her, and she's like, "I'm sure I have some. I know it's there. I bought some." She did not buy some. And so what there was in there was diced tomatoes with spicy red peppers in a can. And we just kind of made an executive decision that we're gonna have to make this with that. And oh my goodness, that just made the dish.
And it makes it different than anything else that we have.
Because we don't use that in anything else.
Although, having said that, we should actually experiment with, I mean, those cans are really easy to find where we live anyway. We should experiment and see if we can make some more recipes, invent more things with
right?
It. It's just so good.
So good. Because like I said before, the whole point of this video is our freezer meals are not bland. And that is kind of why, because we put the extra oomph into it, and it's things like that. So, it just made...
it was a happy accident.
It was a happy accident, and I think that that happened in probably October or September, and it carried us through till Christmas. We were on a high, we figured out this recipe that was so good. We ate it until we ate it to death, and it was awesome.
We actually ate it so much that I think we both got sick of it, and then we didn't have it for so long that now we want
to have it again. So that's why it's showing up today, partly because we just love it, and we think you will love it too.
So yeah, it's kind of funny because this Christy doing me a favor of like, yeah, I'll throw it together by myself, no problem. Like, you just go enjoy your lunch. It was like, I got back from the
And I'm
lunch.
texting her through it. It was maybe not a nice lunch for her, but I was not having a nice time here.
It was great. But like, I got back from the lunch and she was still in the kitchen like this recipe that usually you just throw together in minutes,
Right.
especially when your prep is done. And that brings me to another point, which is what we say to you, but don't always do. You know that whole like, do as we say, not as we do? Is we always say, whenever you're assembling your freezer meals, gather your ingredients first. It saves you a ton of time, like a ton of time, because you're not rooting around for things.
Especially if your ingredients are in many different bags, like the Cajun seasoning, for example.
Right.
You know.
And it makes it so that you know before you start the recipe whether or not you have the ingredients, so that maybe you decide, okay, I can't make that because I don't have the ingredients, or I have to run to the store or have somebody run to the store for me, or make that on another day, or you know, whatever it is. It also allows you to assemble like recipes that have similar ingredients. You kind of want to assemble those at the same time, and saving more time, of course, because you have them out anyway. And then what we always tell you to do is at least double each recipe, because you've got everything out, it's all sitting there. Might as well just throw more together.
Absolutely. Sorry.
Go ahead.
It's going to save you time. It's going to save you money. And honestly, having a freezer full of meals saves you unlimited mental, well, I can't say unlimited, a lot of mental energy, because if you are like us, you sometimes worry about what you're going to make for supper, and actually that doesn't happen to us anymore. It's just there, I'll take this bag out. Oh look, we're gonna have this amazing one-pot Cajun chicken pasta tonight, and it's a whole pot. Like, I could maybe throw a side salad with it and some garlic bread, but you don't even need to.
Have made ahead in your freezer, because we've got a great garlic garlic bread for the freezer recipe. So yeah, it's just, we always say that this is the one area of our lives that we actually have figured out, because we don't, like, I don't speak for Christy, but I do not have many other areas of my life figured out. But
Me neither.
Dinner, I like have that down pat.
Totally. And you can too.
This next recipe is actually really a simple one. It doesn't have that many ingredients. It's understated. You wouldn't think that it's very exciting, but it is. And there are ways that you can kind of make it your own. And that's one of the things that I love about it. This is our Italian sausage pasta sauce. What you're gonna do to make this is you're going to make your Italian sausage into little meatballs. So you slice your casing, then you slice it, and you throw it on a baking sheet to form little meatballs. Get those in the oven and cook them up. Then you wanna put those, once they're cooled, into your freezer bag. Then you're gonna add some salsa. Now here is where you can really make it your own. For that Italian sausage, you can choose to use spicy or mild again, or there's even some other funky flavors out there of Italian sausage, so you know, you can experiment. Then with the salsa, you can use a really spicy salsa. There's some habanero salsas out there, or you can even use a very mild salsa, or if you wanted to really experiment, you could even try a fruit salsa in this. Like, go hog wild. This is your food, make it how you want it. Then you're gonna add in some diced onion, some diced green pepper, minced garlic, and some capers. The capers are what's gonna add that zing and really bring this up to another level. Then you're gonna squish that together in your bag again, do all the things that we've been teaching you to do, like getting your air out, sealing it, and getting it in your freezer. And then when you go to make this, it's such a quick one. You just thaw it, heat it in a skillet. You know, that sausage is already cooked, so you're just kind of reheating it and waiting for those onions to soften a little bit. You're gonna serve this on pasta, and you can sprinkle it, of course, with Parmesan cheese and red pepper flakes. Surprise,
Everybody
surprise.
Together now.
I know. That's the chorus.
I do remember the first time that we had this one, because like, we have a really great spaghetti sauce that is on the website at freezermeals101.com. You definitely need to check that out. But we hadn't experimented with a whole lot of other pasta sauces. And so to have this Italian sausage pasta sauce for the first time, it was so exciting because it was different, it was a change, but also it's just so good. And the capers, you're right, the capers really make it.
Yes.
Which reminds me, we still have a giant Costco jar of capers in your fridge that we need to use up. So our next mega session, if you have not seen our mega sessions, you need to tune in.
We'll pop our most recent one up there. We made only 70 meals, which sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, but for us, it's the first time in all of our YouTube mega sessions that we've made less than 100. So,
yes, right?
But go check that out.
And so when we plan our next one, we're going to make more, but we're going to use up those capers.
Yes.
So maybe this should be on our list. And we have actually, again, in the club, you could type in capers and all the recipes that have capers in it would show up. So we could do that and use up that giant jar.
That's so true. Or the pasta pomodoro, the one
it has capers.
Puttanesca.
Yes, it does. Oh, yeah. Oh,
And
gosh.
the pomodoro might have it too. But yes, the puttanesca has it for sure. The puttanesca is one that I considered for today because it has anchovy paste in it. So that is not like your run-of-the-mill freezer meal kind of recipe.
It definitely is not. So stick around this channel. Be sure to like and subscribe because we bring the best of the best freezer meals to you.
Thank you so much for being with us today. It was a lot of fun and actually it's made me quite hungry.
I am very hungry now after we have been talking about all this great food.
Thank you again for being here and happy cooking.